Again, everybody's in their bubble. So MAGA thinks the whole country's MAGA. The left wing thinks the entire country's left wing.
No, we don't. I'm well aware that the majority of the population is not left-wing, which is one of the reasons why there's often alliances being made with, say, liberals, people who will effectively come to power, but don't want to exterminate queer folk. I noticed that, Cenk of Polymarket Studios has for some time now been talking about how ultimately he thinks that MAGA is a populist movement. And, as a populist movement, they're not going to stand by idly if Donald Trump doesn't, in fact, do, populist delivery, whereas everyone told him that that's insane and just not, based in reality, and that they are more cultish than anything. And they seem to actually accept kind of like an alternate version of reality that is sold to everybody, and that the idea of trying to work with them because you feel that they're going to somehow enact populist policies is, to say the very least, foolish. If you don't remember some of the old classics, he got a reply from Donald Trump Jr. "This is a great idea, and it's been discussed." And then he said, "While the left is yelling at me not to work with MAGA, here's Donald Trump Jr. saying we should limit generals from working for defense contractors. That's a policy we've been pushing for and gotten nowhere with the Democrats on. Who cares who does it as long as it gets done?" Because they're not going to do it. And surprise, surprise, they did not. Now, which side seems more open and inclusive? Which side seems more welcoming? And which side tries really hard to drive you away if you disagree even a little with orthodoxy? Which side is asking for suggestions, and which one is demanding compliance and obedience? So fast forward to today, and now he's a little bit more upset. There's the talk of what's going on, obviously, with Trump claiming we're going to magically own magically own Gaza without putting any troops on the ground is totally ridiculous. And now he says the Palestinians will be permanently displaced from their homes. Does he think that 2 million people are going to leave without a fight? Would you? Oh, there's more. Oh, these ones are new. Genuine question, Doge should have access to all the government budgets. I think they're almost all public, so why do they need access to our information? Places like the Treasury, how does that help? I think it's concerning people because there's no good that can come from it. What did you think was going to happen? Democrats said that Trump was an existential threat to the country. Then they had 3 months to prepare a defense against the onslaught, and they've prepared absolutely nothing. I don't think a single Democratic leader even believed those things. Also, what utter incompetence. Dude. You were the one saying that he was a fascist. That was the exact word you used over and over. He's a fascist. He's a fascist. We have to stop him. I believe in my heart that Donald Trump is a fascist. When he comes to power, he's going to enact fascist policies. You know what? I need to run for the president of the United States. I'm a break glass in case of emergency candidate to make sure that Joe Biden doesn't run because we have to stop him. No matter what. CFPB are the cops for white-collar criminals. They've returned $21 billion to the American taxpayer from banks that sold from them. They stopped Wells Fargo from robbing their own customers. Getting rid of them is the opposite of populism. It's defunding the police on Wall Street. Yeah, it is. That's true. Surprise. I mean, who could have seen this coming? Absolutely no way of predicting any of it, really. I, for one, am astonished, flabbergasted. What? They're not, in fact, populous. I don't want to have to be the one to tell you this, but the trains are not, in fact, running on time. But, I mean, it is good to market yourself that way because, again, most people who might not really be there for the whole fascistic aspects of your administration might want to have trains run on time. So why not say that as a popular policy that is going to appeal to a lot of people on a popular level, a populist one, if that. So certainly something to propose and then see whether or not people are going to vote for you and vote you into power or even give you some sort of soft power that you can then use to acquire hard power through, the fire or something like that. Doesn't matter what it is, but yeah, I know. And now the planes are breaking that as well. I want to see what they have to say about Elon Musk. Are they finally turning back to being anti-Elon?
He does have all the power in the world. Donald Trump is complimenting him, and maybe he's returning the favor after Elon Musk put this out last week. I love Donald Trump as much as a straight man can love another man. Which, to be honest with you, when I read that, what I thought was, this is the kind of thing that a member of a relationship will announce to the world because their relationship is in trouble. But who knows, maybe the relationship isn't in trouble in this case. And maybe Trump really does love IQ points and does think that Elon Musk is brilliant. But you wanna know something? According to a recent Quinnipiac University poll, most Americans do not have a favorable view of Elon Musk, even though Donald Trump's approval rating is at all-time highs. So only 39% of Americans support Elon Musk, 53% oppose.
Yeah, and that number is dropping. He used to be popular, and it's been dropping like a rock since he's going through the government with a wrecking ball. And MAGA.
Am I missing something? I keep hearing that he's like got these historic approval ratings. Is it just by like in relation to Donald Trump in general? Because he's currently at a 46.7% favorable for the aggregate and 47.8% unfavorable. Is that just in relation to a incoming administration? Is that just because it's like, oh yeah, it's impressive for Trump. It's impressive for a president 12 days in. It just seems bad, both historically and within the context of that as well. It's just that it's his own highest rating. Okay.
Thinks, oh yeah, they voted for the wrecking ball. No, MAGA voted for the wrecking ball. That's true, okay? But the independents that carried Donald Trump to victory didn't vote for the wrecking ball. They voted for immigration, which that they like the Trumps doing that. That's why Trump's numbers are doing okay. They voted on crime, they voted on inflation, etc. They were just looking to get back to sanity and better prices and stuff. They didn't ask you to end all of our funding for churches that are helping the poor and the needy and the sick throughout the world. They didn't ask you to have hackers and Silicon Valley CEOs go into the treasury and get unprecedented.
It's still this really weird balancing act they're trying to do, where they're trying to appeal to MAGA as a demographic and keep saying that they're somehow separate from Trump himself, and then act as if like, well, MAGA themselves, I mean, the ones that you'd want to have a beer with, they're not outrageous, they're not going too hardcore or anything like that, and they actually wanted some pretty reasonable things that I think all of us do, right? They wanted to be tough on crime, and then they wanted to be tough on the border, tough on immigrants and immigration, and they're getting that. And then on the other end, there's some things that maybe, I mean, if you all are as populist as I think you are, you might not agree with some of the other stuff that is taking place, or maybe you do. I don't see an outrageous backlash that is supposed to happen. Okay, like Cenk kept pushing this idea that if Trump doesn't enact policies that are directly going to be populist in nature, as in popular policies that are going to benefit everyday working Americans and the working class MAGA that voted him into power, that they are going to rebel. And I have not seen the rebellion. It seems more like crickets. Actually, the opposite. It's like they seem to be celebrating a lot of the weird shit that is ceremonial. Hey, did you know that Canada and Mexico just bent the knee in that they promised the exact things that they were already doing, but they did it to avoid a trade war because they know it would be very costly for their own populace. So they just decided to pretend to ceremoniously give Trump things that he wanted that they were already doing. So that's a win, right? The Gulf of Mexico. Gulf of America now. So that's also a win. And how about carving out all of USAID? Because that was apparently some kind of far left Marxist program that was distributing all kinds of welfare to people who didn't deserve it. So more wins, just again chalking the wins up.
Access for absolutely no reason
to all of our data, our social security numbers, our bank accounts, all of that.
They didn't ask you to stop listening to court orders, and they're gonna hate this stuff.
But they don't. Come on. I keep hearing that. MAGA's going to despise this. They're going to rebel. They're going to get really upset about this. No, they're cheering this shit on. They think it's fucking based. It's fucking amazing. Oh yeah, like they're getting rid of all the fucking the waste that was in the government. Elon Musk is saying that they're apparently just stealing money and giving it to all these like far leftist NGOs, and he's going to get rid of them all, and this is all super awesome. You're not going to see the everyday Republican or red voter suddenly get upset until it's just like completely unavoidably the reality that the intense and horrifying living conditions that they're enduring has been getting effectively worse and worse under Trump, and that's not going to happen right away. So for the time being, it seems like he's just fucking shit up. It's just like, oh, this is awesome. I can't believe it. He's doing so much. It's just amazing. You're not seeing them being like, oh, whoa, that's really scary to have an unelected billionaire come into power and then try to put his little army of Nazi groypers to hack big balls is now, within the U.S. Treasury trying to implement his own code in there. I'm not seeing a pushback on that.
So for now, Elon's taking the brunt of it, because he's the one out there doing it, which for Trump is not that bad a strategy, by the way. I don't think he's doing it as a strategy. I think he's doing it because Elon gave him $290 million for his campaign. But if that strategy is going to work, at some point he has to dump Elon when he's supernova toxic, which is exactly where he's headed. And so again, it's not just our theory or our opinion. The polling backs it up. I told you guys before it happened that Elon was going to crash in the polling, and then it happened, right? Because again, everybody's in their bubble. So MAGA thinks the whole country is MAGA. The left wing thinks the entire country is left wing. No, the middle decides elections.
No, we don't. I'm well aware that the majority of the population is not left wing, which is one of the reasons why there's often alliances being made with, say, liberals, people who will effectively come to power, but don't want to exterminate queer folk. So I'm like, yeah, sure. I mean, like, I despise Justin Trudeau. I think he's a fuck. But at the same time, he's not openly saying that there are only two genders and shit like that, and demanding that there only be two genders from here on out, shit like that. Like, he's not doing the erasure of trans people. So yeah, I mean, in comparison to, say, Pierre Poilievre, he's better in that respect. So yeah, I'm not a fan of liberals or liberalism, but that is slightly better than, you know, what it seems to be a lot of the world is barreling towards fascism.
And they don't think like either one of those two sides. So $290 million bought him the ability to go and do this thing. But I think that Elon did that tweet, it's for a reason, because he's getting unpopular.
Yeah, I was wondering about that, because like, look, it just, you know, when you're familiar with a couple and you can tell they're having issues, and like they start doing these like loud pronouncements of love for each other, it's like, oh no, they're in a lot of trouble. Like, that's how it came across to me.
And you know the example I always use, when a guy walks into a room and goes, "I'm not gay," you're like, okay, brother.
Does that happen?
Yeah, well, sometimes. I mean,
when goddamn Anna's calling you out. Has that ever happened before in human history? Like, ever? We got some friends coming over for a party. Oh, it's bumping. A lot of people over here. Oh yeah, here comes Jim. And hey, it's nice to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. Hey, just so everyone here knows, I'm not gay. Whoa, I don't know. Kind of weird you had to proclaim that. I feel if you were really confident in your heterosexuality, you wouldn't have to scream it at the top of your lungs, you know? Kind of feels like the extreme hyperbolic version of no homo. I'm taking no homo to new extremes you haven't seen before.
No, like sometimes you'll be having a conversation and some guy will get like really emotional about you. Like, hey, God, we don't care. Nobody cares, right? So, and especially back in the old days, right? So, anyways, Trump.
What the fuck is this anecdote? Are you talking about people who are deeply insecure with their own sexuality? I mean, okay. What does this have to do with anything?
Did it when he, in his first term, when he's like, you know, I'm known for two things.
And by the way, that's much bigger a problem of just how much insecurity is wrapped around the idea of like traditional masculinity, and that's where a lot of that plays itself out at. Like, there's a reason why there was an entire thing where, you know, dudes in high school had to be like, oh, by the way, bro, I love you, man, but like no homo. Oh, by the way, like, you know, I'm really happy to be enjoying this, like, you know, fine dinner with you, but like no gay. I'm not enjoying pizza with you because we're gay, right? Because, you know, like that's all insecurity. It's 100% insecurity.
One is being a very stable genius, and the other one is I'm renowned for my mental stability. Why do you have to tell people that you're mentally stable unless you're not mentally stable? That's not a thing you got to brag about. Anyways, back to this. When a guy goes, I really love Donald Trump as much as a straight man can love another man, that means, hey, Donald, remember, I love you, I'm flattering you. Don't listen to the people sniping at me. Because it's not just that he's polling has gone south. Remember, Steve Bannon's been sniping the whole time. And Steve Bannon wants to take Elon Musk out. So there are people whispering in Trump's ear. And if you remember, Elon Musk was on the cover of Time magazine. That just happened.
Oh, yeah.
And they had him sitting at the president's desk, at the Resolute desk in the Oval Office. And so they asked Trump about it, and Trump laughed it off and said, oh, I thought Time was out of business. Of course, a little while ago, he was bragging about how he was the man of the year for Time. Anyways, the bottom line is, Elon is clearly worried that it's getting under Trump's skin. So that's why he did that. And then so that forces Trump to go, well, I like there's no problems. I like high IQ points. Anyone who says I'm a big believer in IQ points usually needs some. Okay. So anyways, so on that point,
I'm just like, what are we even doing here? What the fuck is this?
now starting to hear it a lot in right-wing media. No, it's okay. You can trust Elon because he's really smart. Well, Bill Gates is really smart. Should we put him in charge of the Treasury and let him have access to everything? No, 5G, blah, blah, blah. Okay, but you said really smart is the standard. George Soros is super smart. He's one of the biggest, best investors in world history. Should we put him in charge of the Treasury?
I would, yeah, I would like a government for the people and by the people. Okay, enough with these billionaires, enough with the corruption. They don't have our best interests in mind. They don't give a damn about ordinary working class people. They see the government as an entity specifically there to serve them. Okay, that's what they see. And so unless everyone, every ordinary American, regardless of their political persuasion, wakes up and realizes that, we are okay? There are no billionaires on the left or the right who are donating all this money out of the kindness of their own hearts because they're looking out for us. They're looking out.
This is what, 20 seconds almost? Yeah, this like 20 seconds. This is all, yes, absolutely, 100%. What? So why even try and posture? Why do this weird song and dance if this is at the core of it all? Why have to do this whole like, well, yes, but the MAGA movement is populist and they won't stand for this, and they eventually they'll rebel. I mean, that's why the percentages are low. And I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, there's only so much that a high IQ individual, which by the way is just the most ridiculous way to describe Elon Musk, the guy who's basically failed upwards and absorbed every company and idea that he's tried to claim was his own. He's not an inventor. He's not a creative individual. There's literally like one thing, which is like a small side coded aspect of his early pre-PayPal days where he actually designed and invented something that effectively was his own creation. Everything else has just been him acquiring other people's concepts, assets, and then getting tons of VC and investment capital, regardless of they make houses light on fire. He's not the world's smartest man. He's the world's biggest cheater. He even fucking cheats at video games. Who the fuck needs to cheat at video games but then also wants adoration at the same time? Like that is, it's so profoundly sad and insecure to see someone have to do that. Where it's just like, it's not enough for me to say like, I like video games. Okay, cool, so do I. Yes, I'm really good at video games. I believe you, probably. I mean, you seem to have a lot of free time on your hands for some reason, and you go on ketamine benders, so maybe you're good at video games. Well, no, I'm not just good. I'm the world's best. Okay, what? Why did you? Why does in what in one of the hardest video games to play ever? In one of the ones that just requires, again, endless amounts of time. Yeah, but Path of Exile 2, you're going to see the world's greatest players putting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours into it. But yes, I'm one of the world's top ranking players, and it's definitely real, and you definitely have to respect me. Same thing with Diablo 4. One of the world's greatest Diablo 4 players ever. You better respect it. And it's like, why do you need that? Why, like, is it just not enough for someone to be like, you're good boy, very impressive.
Out for themselves, period.
And we did that story earlier in the show about how some Silicon Valley donors were complaining to Hakeem Jeffries. They're like, oh, the other Silicon Valley CEOs went with Donald Trump, and now they're getting everything they.
He said he was also the world's greatest player at Quake. Oh, I totally forgot about that. I'm assuming that's fake too. Yeah, it's not an easy game, even if it's an older game. It's not an easy game to be competitive at online. Again, these are all games that require a huge amount of time. I did want to quickly talk about the U.S. Protection Agency thing though, because that's fucked. The Trump administration has ordered the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau to stop nearly all its work, effectively shutting down an agency that was created to protect consumers after the 2008 financial crisis and subprime mortgage lending scandal. Russell Vaught, the newly installed director of the Office of Management and Budget, directed the CFPB in a Saturday night confirmed by the Associated Stop Work proposed rules to suspend the effective dates on any rules that were finalized but not yet effective, and to stop investigative work and not begin any new investigations. The agency has been the target of conservatives since President Barack Obama pushed to include it in the 2010 financial reform legislation that followed the 2007-2008 financial crisis. There's not going to be any oversight on banks now. That is just absolutely terrifying. Again, this was not even a half measure. Like this is just bare basic things. There needs to be financial protection agencies to prevent banks from just doing whatever they want, because clearly they've shown themselves to be unable to be guided by the principle of maybe we should do things in the general interest and benefit to society and the people and citizens who are our own customers. That doesn't seem to be what they care about. It's just maximizing profit at all costs, even if it is highly predatory and can lead to global instability. So if that's the case, then yes, they need to be reined in, and there needs to be some body or government agency that's going to prevent them from, again, doing the same calamitous effects that led to the 2008 financial crisis. The email also ordered the Bureau to cease all supervision and examination activity. So again, this is going to let some of the richest people in the world and some of the most profitable companies in the world suddenly have free reign. Since the CFPB is a creation of Congress, it would require a separate act of Congress to formally eliminate it. But the head of the agency has discretion over what enforcement actions to take, if any. Yet, Elon Musk commented CFPB RIP on social media site X on Friday, and the CFPB homepage on the internet was down Sunday, replaced by a message reading page not found. Also, late Saturday, Vought said in a social media post that the CFPB would no longer withdraw funds from the Federal Reserve, adding that its current financing of $711.6 million is excessive. Congress directed the Bureau to be funded by the Fed to insulate it from political pressure. And by the way, proposing that when I believe, what is it, $20 to $21 billion is the financial relief to U.S. consumers that comes in the other direction. I'm not a great math guy, but you know, $20 to $21 billion is better than $711.6 million. This spigot, long contributing to the CFPB's unaccountability, is now being turned off, Vought said on X. The CFPB said it obtained nearly $20 billion in financial relief for U.S. consumers since its founding in the form of canceled debts, compensation, reduced loans. Last month, the Bureau sued Capital One for allegedly misleading consumers, offering high-interest savings accounts, and cheating customers out of more than $2 billion in lost interest payments as a result. Dennis Keller, the president of Better Markets and advocacy group, said, "That's why Wall Street's biggest banks and Trump's billionaires and the allies hate the Bureau. It's an effective cop on the finance beat that has stood side by side with hundreds of millions of Americans, Republicans, and Democrats battling financial predators, scammers, and crooks. The administration's move against the CFPB highlights the tension between Trump's more populist promises to lower costs for working class families and the pledge to reduce government regulation." It's like 100% they're doing effectively, the only defunding of any kind of police or the only defunding of any kind of oversight when it comes to crime is going to be on white collar crime, is going to be on billionaires, is going to be on the richest individuals to make sure that they're allowed to do the most fucked up shit possible. Like no one really effectively, I think it was literally one person went to jail for the 2008 financial crisis, even though like there's very strong indication that a lot of what they did had serious consequences for not just like a couple people. We're talking millions of people globally. There's fuck tons of people who lost their homes as a result of all this. And like, I know there's always that pushback on the other end where people are like, yeah, but I mean, should some of those people really have had all those kind of like, ridiculous predatory loans in the first place? Should they have been buying that third mansion and all that kind of stuff? It's like, you can take that and push that to one side and say that, yes, that's on the banks. They shouldn't have been doing that in the first place, not to mention consolidating this debt. But at the same time, as a result of the massive financial crisis and crash, there are everyday people who were not on their third or fourth home or buying some random mansion they didn't need. There were just regular people who no longer could afford to pay their bills. And as a result, whether they lost their jobs, they now effectively can't pay their mortgage, they then lose their homes. Like this whole thing had a trickle-down effect that obviously was devastating globally. Some countries were more insulated than others. Canada was more insulated than the United States when it came to the 2008 financial crisis, but it's an absolute disaster. Deregulation, just allowing unfettered capitalism, neoliberal policies to dictate where society moves is disastrous. Absolutely disastrous. The Bureau can still take complaints, but it can't conduct exams or pursue existing investigations, according to a person familiar with the agency who insisted on anonymity to discuss the CFPB business. The memo is also interpreted as blocking it from communicating in companies it regulates, consumer advocates, and other outside groups. Musk's team would also have access to complaints, investigations, and regulatory oversight data. The access raises uncomfortable questions if Musk Company X launches a payment system of the CFPB, has data on competitors such as Cash App, this person said. Vox email follows a similar directive from the Treasury Secretary Scott Scott Bassett on February 3rd, and is the latest move by the Trump administration to rapidly curtail the work of federal agencies that have deemed excessive. Vaught suggested that the CFPB is unaccountable in his social media post. Obama spearheaded the creation of the Bureau in the wake of the 2007-2008 housing bubble and financial crisis, which was caused in part by fraudulent mortgage lending. It was the brainchild of Massachusetts Democrat Senator Elizabeth Warren and has attracted lawsuits from large banks and financial industry trade associations. Last week, Warren called on Trump to work with the Bureau to protect Americans from debanking, the practice of banks shutting down customer accounts because they believe they pose financial, legal, and reputational risks to the banks. I know the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is the favorite whipping boy of Republicans on this committee, but the CFPB is the main agency in our government that is actively working to stop unfair debanking. Vaught's email said that President Donald Trump has made the acting director of the CFPB on Friday. Trump fired the previous director of the Bureau, Rohit Chopra, on February 1st. Vaught was an architect of Project 2025, a policy blueprint for the Trump White House that Trump tried to disavow during last year's campaign, but I mean, disavow it all you want. It's clearly being enacted in every possible way.
Don't let this happen to you. Go to serfscoffee.com to order the only end-to-end owned indigenous coffee company that delivers blood-free, conflict-free, and cruelty-free beans right to your door. 0% of people who drink serfscoffee.com have exploded spontaneously. By ordering right now, you get 10% off plus free shipping, and it's the best way to enjoy delicious coffee while not exploding. That's serfscoffee.com, serfscoffee.com.
Hey, if you'd like to unlock secret bonus episodes as well as uncensored content, go to patreon.com/theserfs. This show is produced by Anna Loves Riley, Arian McCarthy, Cheryl Alvarez, Comrade Junkie, Doug Caddy, Everything Important, Hagbard Celine, Jimmy Sombrero, Voltimondi, Omni, Political Puppy, Preston Kroll, Quiet 185, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Cernicus, Stellar Gwyn, Sebastian Demel, Travis McClinton, Trincell, Words Greenwood, with additional support coming from all of these amazing human beings right here.